There is a reason Manor Lords has more than 2 million wishlists on Steam. Here are 5 reasons to get excited for this seriously impressive medieval city builder. The game doesn't rely on the grid-based or snapping systems we see in many other city builders. This game lets you design the layout of your buildings and roads with a lot of freedom and precision. I think we can actually use the terms unmatched freedom and precision here. Here you get to think like an actual medieval town planner. The attention to detail doesn't only apply to the buildings, but also to the streets themselves. They can curve and flow naturally, so the entire feel of your town is much more organic. You are creating something that truly feels like your own creation. No settlement will ever look exactly the same. While building stuff in games without sticking to a grid isn't a totally new thing, Manor Lords is trying to do something a bit extra with this idea. It's mixing this build how you want freedom with extremely detailed and realistic touches, as you can see right here. I mean, it's hard to believe this is the work of just one developer. All of this goes seamlessly with the game's other features, like making money, managing resources, and fighting battles. And the way Manor Lords is doing all this might actually set a new bar for these types of games. The game's human element really makes it stand out. Sure, building and battling are integral parts of the game, but it's also about the people that live in your medieval town. Each character has their own role and contributes to the community, making your decisions, especially in wartime, impactful and relevant. Sending villagers to battle feels personal, since they are the same folks who farm and build in your settlement. So the loss of even a single villager in battle isn't just a numerical reduction, it's a loss to your community that can have effects on your settlement's productivity and morale. So I would say this approach makes Manor Lords more than just a strategy game. It's you managing an entire living, breathing, and believable medieval society. The combat system steps away from the more arcade-style, fast-paced battles we see in many other strategy games. Instead, it focuses on realistic, large-scale engagements, where you have to pay attention to positioning, formation, and terrain. You can't just amass a huge army and expect to steamroll over enemies. You have to consider the lay of the land, then the types of units you're commanding, and how they interact with enemies. The game developer paid a lot of attention to how historical armies fought, so you'll see formations and tactics that real medieval armies used. This game doesn't treat your soldiers like endless resources. Like I mentioned earlier, these units are actually your citizens who need to pause their daily jobs to fight. If you send too many off to war and they don't return, it will hit your city's economy and morale hard. So there's a real weight to every decision you make. Manor Lords doesn't have fantasy elements like wizards, dragons, or other magical elements. While there's nothing wrong with fantasy, of course, it's refreshing to have a game that's all about building and battling in a setting that mirrors the real medieval world, minus the fantasy stuff. I believe this is part of the reason why the game does such a great job at making you feel like you're an actual medieval lord, dealing with real issues of that time, like economics, warfare, and politics. Their developer uses both motion capture and photogrammetry to achieve a very detailed and believable game world. What's really cool though is how he's using Quixel megascans alongside his own handmade photogrammetry work. This means he's not just relying on pre-made assets, he's also creating his own from scratch to fit the game's unique needs. Now for the destruction and construction visuals, he's using Houdini to pre-calculate everything, which makes for some really detailed and believable scenes of buildings going up or coming down. Combine all this with the changing seasons and weather, and you have a world that feels alive and dynamic. And if all that wasn't enough, you can literally walk through your settlement in third-person mode. There are definitely more aspects to get excited about, but these are the ones I believe are currently making it the most wishlisted game on Steam. If this video was helpful, you can do something incredibly powerful, which is pressing that like button. It's definitely going to help bring this video to more people.